Hello youth, welcome back to another tutorial. In today's tutorial we are going to be learning how to draft a Victorian corset, and the measurements we'll be needing for this tutorial will be on the screen. And please do well to like, share and subscribe to my channel if you have not done that. So without wasting much of your time, let's go right into the video. I've already gone ahead to rule out my horizontal lines, which is for our basic block. If you don't know how to go about drafting your basic block, I've already done tutorial on it. You can check my other video, or better still, I'll leave the link on the description box. So from the top of the paper, which is our starting point, I'm going to come down to mark my bust point, my under bust, my waistline and my hip line, which is also the length of my blouse. The next thing I'm going to do right here is to come to the top of the paper and mark my shoulder measurement. My shoulder divided by 2 is 7.5. I'm going to mark it right here. Then on this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And then I'm going to mark my neck. I'm going to use 3 by 3 for my neck, 3 for the width of my neck, and then 3 for the depth of my neck. And then I'm going to connect the 2 points together. What we are doing here, we are trying to get our basic block. Like I said, I've done tutorial on this. If you don't know how to go about your basic block, just check on my other videos. All right, then that point I came down for my shoulder slope. I'm going to connect it into the neck. Then from the shoulder slope, I'm going to come down to mark my arm length. How to get your arm length? You divide your bust by 6, then you add 1.5 inch. Then I'm going to connect the 2 points together and then extend the line across. So this is my chest line. The next thing I'm going to do right here is to divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2. My nipple to nipple measurement is 8 divided by 2 is 4. I'm going to mark 4 on all the lines. And then connect the point with a straight line. So the next thing I'm going to do right here, I'll come to this shoulder slope and then measure it, divide it into 2 equal halves, and then connect it into this line. Then the next thing is to get my dart. Then I'll come to the waist. I'll come to the waistline and then measure 0.75 on both sides of the line. Then I'll come down by 1 inch from the bust point, and then I'll come up from the hip line by 1 inch as well, and then I'll connect the points together. So from my bust line, I'm going to go up by 2 inches, but this is actually dependent on what you want. If you want your cleavage to show, you can go lesser than 2 inches, but if you don't want it revealing, you can go higher than 2 inches. So it all depends on what you want. So on this point, I'm going to mark 0.5 on the both side of the line. I'm going to take my dart here too, and then I'm going to connect the point to the bust line. Okay, now we now have our dart there. So for my neck, I'm going to connect from here like this into the bust line, but it all depends on what you want. If you want a different neck, it's totally up to you. So the next thing is to impute our body measurement. I'm going to divide my bust by 4 and then mark it here, and then this dart we took here, I'm going to replace it there, and then I'll come to the bust line and impute my bust measurement there too, and then I'll come to the waistline, divide my waist by 4, I will chop it here, and then the dart we took here, I will replace it. I'll replace the dart here. Then I'll come to my hip line and then impute my hip measurement there, and then connect the points together. So I'll come here, I'll measure whatever I have there, then divide it into 2 equal halves. On this point, I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch and then connect it into the chest line. We now have our armhole curve. Then from this line here, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to connect these points into that 1/2 inch we came down. This is to prevent our corset sitting right on our armhole after sewing, okay? Then the next thing is to do our underbust tightening. I'm going to impute my underbust circumference. I'm going to impute my underbust circumference here, and then the 1/2 inch here, we are going to replace it. So whatever that is remaining here, we are going to divide it into 2. Then you mark it on both sides of the dart line. You give the bigger part to the one going to the side front, and then the smaller one to the one going to the center front. And what I mean is that if you got one, you give 0.7 to the one going to the side front, and then 0.25 to the one going to the side. Then you connect your darts like this, okay? I'll use my curve to just connect this to that point, so to avoid sharp point here, okay? You connect it this way. Then the next thing I'm going to do right here is to snatch my waist. My waist is 26. I'm going to subtract 1 from that 26. I'm left with 25 now. And then remember, my nipple to nipple is 4. I'm going to divide that 4 into 2, okay? 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. I'm going to mark the 2 on all the lines. Then I'll connect the point with a straight line. Then I'll come to the waistline. Then I'm going to mark 0.25 on both sides of the line. I'll mark 0.2 on both sides. And then from the hip line, I'm going to come up by 1 inch. From the hip line, I'm coming up by 1 inch. And then from the bust line, I'm going to connect the lines like so. And now have my dart. We've succeeded in snatching our waist here, so I'll just cancel all these parts I don't need, okay? So I'm going to cancel all these parts I don't need. All these parts I'm canceling are the parts we don't need. We are going to cut all this area out, okay? So from the hip line, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inch. I'll come up by 1.5 inch and connect it into the line. This is to give our blouse a nice curve, okay? And then I'll label. This is a center front 1, center front 2, and center and side front, okay? Make sure you label before you cut so you don't get confused. This thing can be very confusing, okay? And then I'll go ahead and cut. If you want more pieces, you can just cut the side front into 2. You can just divide it into 2, okay? The side front, you can divide it into 2 if you want more pieces of this. But for me, this is okay. Okay, if you want more pieces, the side front, you can just divide it into 2. But for me, this is okay. I'll just keep this one aside so we can go ahead with the back pattern. So I've already gone ahead to rule out my horizontal lines like how we did for the front. I'll come to the top of the paper here and chop my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5. And then I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And then I will impute my neck measurement. I'm using 3 by 1.5, 3 for the width and then 1.5 for the depth. And then I'm going to connect the point. See, we are just repeating everything we did on the front pattern, okay? And then I'm going to connect my shoulder slope into the neck. Then from that point, I'm going to come down for my arm length and then connect the points together and then extend the line across. So this is me repeating everything we did on the front pattern. So I'll just go ahead and indicate on all the lines. This is my chest line. This is my bust line, and this is my waistline and my hip line, which is the length of my blouse. The next thing I'm going to do right here is to impute my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 4 divided by 2 is 4. I'm going to mark 4 on all the lines. And then connect the points with a straight line. Then I'll come to the waistline, then mark 0.75 on both sides of the line. and then I'll come up from the hip line by 1 inch and then connect to the bust point. So now have our dart. The next thing I'm going to do is to impute my body measurements. My bust divided by 4, I'm going to mark it right here and then mark it on the bust point as well. I'll come to the waist, impute my waist measurement, and then this dart I'll replace it here. And then I'll come to the hip line, impute my hip measurement, and then I'll connect the points. So the next thing I'm going to do right here is to do my bust tightening. So I'll come to the bust line. On the dart line, I'll mark 0.25 on both sides. And then connect to the waistline like so. So this 1/2 inch I took for my dart, I'm going to replace it here so we don't have shortage when sewing. And then I'll connect it this way. Then the next thing I'm going to do right here is to come down from that line by 1/2 inch. I'll come down by 1/2 inch and then I'll connect that point into the bust line. This is for my back neck. So we now have our back neck. You can actually leave it straight. If you want your back neck to be straight, you can leave it, but I think this one is better. So the next thing I'm going to do right here is to snatch my waist, but this time we are not doing it on this side, we are doing it on the side back. Okay, so I'm going to divide whatever I have here into 2 and then mark it all the way down and then connect the point. And then on the waistline, I'm going to take 0.25 on both sides of the line. Okay, like I said, we are not doing it on the center back this time, we are doing it on the side back. Okay, and then from the hip line, I'll come up by 1 inch and then connect the point all the way to the bust line. Now we've now succeeded in snatching our waist. I'll just cancel the parts we don't need. So make sure you cancel all the parts you don't need before you start cutting so you don't cut wrongly. Okay. So from the center back, I'm going to take out 1.5 inches because we are going to be using eyelet for this blouse. We don't need zip. I'll mark it all the way down. Make sure you take out 1.5 inches from the center back and then I'll connect the points because we are going to cut this out. Then I'll go ahead and label. This is my center back 1, center back 2 and side back. Okay, then from the hip line, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inches and then connect into the line. This is to give it a nice curve. Then I'll go ahead and cut. So this is all for our Victorian corset. I think this is simple. I tried as much as possible to make the tutorial simple. So I hope you understand everything. And do well to like, give this video a thumbs up if you like it, share, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed. Okay, subscribe to my channel, support me and help me grow, and encourage me with your like and comment. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.